Hello, and welcome back to the channel. Today is 2025 July 22nd, a Tuesday. And you know what that means. It's time to print another fascinating trending article from the archives. Today we're diving into the world of medical records. And trust me, it's way more chaotic and interesting than you think. So, let's get this show on the road. Alright, the paper I've got queued up today is a real gem. The title is Advanced Longitudinal Progress in Note Generation with Temporal Modeling of Heterogeneous Clinical Notes Across Hospital Visits. Histories. Tats log 5 or 714,071. It's long. Okay. So let's break this down. What problem is this paper even trying to solve? Imagine a patient's medical history as a storybook. Each time they visit the hospital, a new chapter is written. Now, the most important part of that chapter is often the progress note. It's like the doctor's daily diary entry for that patient. It usually follows a format called SOAP, which stands for Subjective, Objective Assessment, and Plan. Basically, what the patient says, what the doctor observes. But the doctor... These notes are super important for understanding a patient's journey. But here's the shocking part that this paper points out. A massive, widely used medical database called Mimicry. It is only about 8.56% of hospital visits actually have these progress notes. Let me say that again, less than 9%. So for over 99% of visits. That crucial daily diary from the doctor is just, poof, gone. That's a huge gap in the patient's story. Instead, you have all this other information scattered everywhere. You've got radiology reports over here, nursing notes over there, pharmacy logs, consultation notes, you name it. It's like trying to understand a story by reading a random collection of receipts, sticky notes, and telegrams, instead of the actual book chapters. A doctor would have to manually piece all of this together, which takes a ton of time. Do you know? They might miss something crucial. So that's the problem. A big, messy, narrative gap in healthcare. Yeah, what's the solution these researchers came up with? They built a system called DENSE. It stands for Documenting Evolving Progress Notes from Scattered Evidence. I love a good acronym, and this one is perfect. DENSE is basically an AI that acts like a brilliant medical detective. It sifts through all that scattered evidence. The radiology reports, the nursing notes, everything. And it automatically writes the missing progress note for that day. It's not just summarizing one document. No, it's way smarter than that. It uses something called retrieval-augmented generation or RAG. Let's not get bogged down by the jargon. Think of it like this. The AI is taking an open book test. Before it writes anything, it first searches or retrieves all the relevant facts from the different notes. It finds the clue in the nursing note about a fever, the clue in the lab report about high white blood cells, and the clue in the radiology report about pneumonia. Then, it uses all that evidence to generate a coherent, structured subnote, just like a doctor would. But here's the coolest part, the thing that really made me go, whoa. It has a memory. And DENSE is writing a note for a patient's second or third visit. It doesn't just look at the current day's data. It also looks at a summary of the progress note from the previous visit. This is exactly what real doctors do. They check yesterday's notes to see what's changed. This is called longitudinal modeling, making sure the story makes sense over time. And the results are just wild. They tested this on a set of patients with lots of hospital visits. We came up with a metric called the temporal alignment ratio. Basically, it measures how well the story flows from one day to the next, how coherent the patient's journey is. A score of 1 means the AI-generated notes are just as consistent as the real ones written by doctors. DENSE scored 1.89. Right me hardly. The AI-generated notes were actually more consistent and coherent over time than the original human-written notes. How is that even possible? Well, the paper suggests that sometimes doctors copy and paste old notes, or that documentation can be inconsistent. The AI, on the other hand, is systematically building the narrative from the ground up every single time, so it creates a smoother storyline. Okay, so this is all very cool in the lab. But how does this apply to our everyday lives? Let's think about some specific applications. First, let's take machine translation. We think of translation as going from, say, English to Japanese. But what DENSE is doing is a form of translation too. It's translating messy and structured fragmented clinical data into a clear, coherent, and structured clinical narrative. It's creating a universal language for a patient's daily status. Second, think about chatbots or dialogue systems for doctors. Imagine a busy doctor on her rounds. Instead of digging through a dozen different files on her tablet, she could just ask a system, "Hey, give me the soap summary for patient Jane Doe for yesterday." The system built on DENSE could instantly provide it perfect. It added reduced progress note, saving incredible amounts of time and reducing cognitive load. And this is the most direct one, information extraction and text summarization. This technology is like summarization in steroids. It's not just making a short version of one long document. It's creating a single comprehensive summary, the progress note, extracting key information from maybe 10 or 15 different source documents. This could drastically cut down on the documentation burden for clinicians, which is a major cause of burnout, and help them focus more on the patient and less on the paperwork. So in the end, DENSE isn't just about filling in some blanks in a database. It's about restoring the story of the patient. It's about making healthcare data more useful, more coherent, and ultimately safer. By creating high-quality synthetic data, it can also help train future AI models for things like predicting patient outcomes, without needing perfect human-written notes, which we now know are rare. It's a really clever approach to a very real-world problem, and that's the kind of research I love to see. Alright, that's all the time we have for today. What a fascinating dive into the hidden world of medical notes. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.